It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. Many people have heard me say that Agile is all about communication and collaboration. But honestly, even collaboration and communication have a tenet that's like a microcosm of collaboration and communication, and that's trust. I think that Agile, if I had to boil it all down to one word, it's about trust. If you don't trust, if your organization doesn't trust truth and honesty, it's probably not going to like Agile. That was a quote from Heinrich Niebuhr, yes. So, how can we get to the point where we appreciate truth and honesty? And how can we get to a point where we're trusting each other? So I've been fortunate. I've been around since the very beginning, and I've seen teams, lots of mature teams with seasoned people working on them, really implementing, really high performing agile. I've got to see some pretty incredible things. I've also got to see some people in the trenches who really struggle with agile altogether. So I wanted to take a moment, just based on my personal experience, to share with you some of the things I've seen about trust and about building trust. So the first thing that comes to my mind is if your company has never experienced Agile before, just being allowed to try it is going to require convincing. Somebody's not going to be on board. Somebody's not going to understand. Maybe management doesn't trust the team to deliver anything of value, and they don't want to risk letting go of their power. Maybe there's a procurement group that feels like outsourcing a large project for a flat fee is the best way to mitigate overspending instead of having the internal team build something. It's likely some of them have been fooled in the past or bamboozled by someone claiming, yeah, we're agile, we got this. Or they're getting tired of agile as the buzzword and they need to focus on what agile really means and understand that agile is actually something very good. While breaking down some of these delusions is necessary, what you'll find is that it can be unnecessarily cruel if you try to make sure every single person understands and it's a very regimented, all on the same page effort. When management puts their neck on a line for something, they have to pretend to believe in what they believe, and they have to be confident that the deadline's going to be met. But at the same time, they also need to be pragmatic and realistic and talk about what they can do to make things right. So it's pointless or counterproductive for leadership to say, yeah, 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 but I see all the time organizations that are doing agile in name only, and the element of trust just isn't there, and the right talking cycle's not there, the right communication and collaboration cycle's not there. It forces trust out of the window and makes it just an opportunity for us to try to figure out an alternate way. um, Agile is a cycle of trust. So I don't know if, and many of you noticed, but in high school, when I wasn't playing football, my coach made me do track and field. So I did all kinds of events. I even ran hurdles once. And I remember that once you pass the first hurdles, if you're doing Agile well, it makes it kind of magical for you and helps build trust between the team and the users. But I remember when I first did my first run of the hurdles, I probably, the first time I cleared them all and I thought that was amazing. And then somebody told me, oh, well, you didn't extend them. And the hurdles weren't the correct height. And yeah, it was a nightmare. When I put the hurdles to correct height, I pretty much tripped over every single one of them. And I think that sometimes people don't have that level of trust between the team and the stakeholders and the end users. And it creates these hurdles that are insurmountable or hard to overcome. And even though what we're building might be limited in functionality or it might not be absolutely perfect, we still need to build an environment of trust by showing people and not hiding anything and letting the empirical process take control, where we have transparency and we have the ability to evaluate, adapt, inspection and adaptation to make sure we know exactly where we're trying to go. And I think that frequent communication fosters trust. I think it's important for us to understand the context or the relationship between the business side of the house and the technical side of the house, if there is one. But I also think it's important for everybody to kind of make sure they're on the same page. And that's something that a lot of people forget about. And they don't necessarily look at what tenets of Agile build trust. So for me, I always say, when in doubt, go back to Star Wars, and that's where I'm going. So the 5 values of Scrum: focus, openness, respect, commitment, and extreme courage. It spells out the word force. Use the force. It says focus, openness, respect, commitment, and extreme courage. I had someone call me out just now and say, hey, it's supposed to be fork. It's supposed to be courage, not extreme courage. But fork just isn't that exciting. So when I think about self organizing teams being empowered to make good decisions and to extend those decisions and make sure they're the right people for coverage and that they understand the context of what they're going to work on. And they work together closely with business people and technical people and make sure they understand solutioning and they deliver high quality products or services regularly. I think that quality is a key here too. You want to focus on working increments of software or working products and services. You want to focus on outcome, not output, though. So you want to make sure while creating a large amount of work, a volume of work is a good deal. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always the one end all be all that you need to do. Velocity is a vanity metric. It's not something you should use to compare one team to another. But it is important for us to make sure that we are using velocity properly to preload our sprints so we kind of have an idea of how much work the team should be able to get done within a simple cycle. Okay, there's also the component of risk mitigation. Agile teams that focus on delivering working products and services and focus on outcome instead of output often handle risk mitigation built in. But sometimes somebody needs to come in and ask the tough questions. How will this impact us architecturally? What about from a financial services perspective? What is this going to do? How did this add impact our future ability to do X, Y, Z? I think that all of these things are, forms of risk mitigation. And I think that we need to make sure we understand what's going on with our teams. And we need to be smart enough to recognize that, even if we have a very detailed document, that without experiencing ourselves and without seeing what's going on, it makes it very difficult for us to make adaptations that are going to help us be better at what we do. And, I think in conclusion, I just want to make sure I say this. Trusting is a decision. What do I mean by that? For me, it's easy. For me, I say, I give you my trust right away and it's yours to lose. But there are many organizations and many people who say you have to earn my trust in order to keep it. And I don't think it's a bad idea to do that. I just think it's a hard idea to do that. And I think that, even though things have changed quite a bit over the last 20 years since I've been doing Agile, what I can tell you is if you have teams and organizations that trust each other, they usually accelerate and do very well. When you have teams and organizations that are still struggling to get past those first couple of trust hurdles, those are the organizations that usually struggle a great deal later and are unable to meet, their commitments or goals. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have a topic you want to talk about, learn more at agiledad.com. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Do take care.